Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our program. I'm Roberto Miranda here for Pray TV and the Covenant for New England. And in this program, we have three outstanding men of God, Catholics who serve the Lord in all kinds of interesting capacities. And we want to dedicate this program to reflections on Catholic Protestant dialogue and the possibility of unity and collaboration. And particularly, I think it's so relevant for us to discuss this today, given the fact that just a few days ago, Francis was ordained, or rather was elected as the new Pope for the Catholic Church or Catholics worldwide. And we think that's such an important event for Christianity as a whole that we want to dedicate this program to conversation around the issues of Catholicism and Protestantism and possibilities of dialogue and collaboration among us. So I'd like to introduce our guests first of all, and maybe give them an opportunity to say who they are and what they do very briefly, and then we can perhaps use that as a platform for continuing our discussion. So the first person I'd like to introduce is Jurgen Liias, who is a fascinating gentleman. He has been actually an Anglican pastor and now a Catholic on his way to ordination, as I understand it.
Yes.
And I think that's a lot of food for discussion as well. So Jurgen, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are in your pilgrimage right now.
Well, among the three of us, I think these are cradle Catholics, but I've only been a Catholic 6 months, so I don't know how wise and I am about the totality of the Catholic Church. But I have been, as you mentioned, an Anglican or Episcopal priest, is normally what people know of here in the United States, for 40 years. And as you said, actually, I just found out this very week that I'll be ordained next week as a deacon in the Catholic Church, and a few weeks later, Cardinal O'Malley will ordain me a priest in the Catholic Church. But I'm part of a peculiar structure, which I think fits in many ways with the themes we're talking about today, which is ecumenism and relationship between Catholics and Protestants. I'm part of a peculiar thing that Pope Benedict established called the Anglican Ordinariate. It was a structure within the Catholic Church and a provision to welcome Anglicans or Episcopalians who would like to come into full communion with the See of Peter, so to speak. And that's, in one sense, what it means to be a Catholic is you have to be in union with the Bishop of Rome, now Francis, our Pope. But we're allowed to continue our Anglican, Episcopal, Protestant traditions, among which, for example, I'm married. So I will be a bit of an anomaly as a Catholic priest wandering around. I'll have a wife and children and even grandchildren. And I've had a few Catholics already come up to me, "You can't be a priest, you're married."
Although there are married priests in the Catholic Church, as I understand, if you are married first and are then ordained. Is that correct?
No, that's in the Eastern Catholic Church. There is a peculiarities in the structured church. No, this is the only provision. There are some Anglican provision. Matter of fact, I was Pope Benedict. Only the Pope, by the way, can permit a married man to be married. So I had to get the Pope's permission.
To be ordained. Mm-hmm.
To be ordained. And I was Pope Benedict's last official permission before he retired. I trust there was no connection between his signing my document and retiring, but that'll be. But I'll talk more a little bit later about, I think, the profound ecumenical, I call hospitality of Benedict in establishing this.
Huge implications, I think, in that coming together of Anglican and Catholic, and what it portends perhaps for an incremental going toward maybe other Protestants perhaps entering some sort of official relationship with the church. That's wonderful. And then we have Peter Carpentier with us, who is a layman and a Catholic as well, deeply involved in all kinds of activities on behalf of his church. And tell us a little bit about what you do, Peter.
Well, I think before I go on, Jurgen's also going to be the pastor of St. Gregory the Great Church, which has already been established. So that should be
Catholic
Church.
In Beverly. It's going to be in Beverly.
Wonderful.
So my story, basically, I'm an attorney, retired now, and have actually been the director of Shore Christian Ministries, which is a lay apostolate in the Catholic Church for about 20 years. And we have done many, many things in terms of ministry. The objective of our ministry is to collaborate with other churches, many Protestant churches, evangelical churches, and to do programs together to create streams of unity and things we agree upon. Essentially, evangelization of the gospel and the salvation of souls is our whole focus. And we use the Alpha course as a core means. Over the years it's spread out to where we have brought it into prisons. We're in 3 different prisons with Alpha. We're actually going to the Framingham prison for women next month for the first time. We've tried for 10 years, so it's going to open up for us. We also do a lot of conferencing when we can. In the past, we've had Neil Lozano up for Unbound Deliverance conferences, so we've learned and have teams locally for healing and deliverance purposes that are available, and we try to emphasize that, and we hope to work with Jurgen in terms of expanding that ministry in a dramatic way, because the need is very great for that. Then we've also amazingly learned how to do Youth Alpha. I was for 5 years directing Youth Alpha in local parishes and put over 1,000 kids through it with a lot of transformation, tremendous program. And I've been invited to go to Kansas City to do a presentation to some dioceses out there in terms of Youth Alpha. It seems ironic that a guy my age, but God did it, and I love doing it, and so I'm just hoping to stoke the fires in that area. So that's what we've done. I just have hoped to model for other lay Catholics, men and women, what it means to do ministry in the Catholic Church. It's been a focal point of my energies to encourage others to jump in, learn how to do it, and to work in what sometimes can be a very difficult environment, and you have to press on and pray through it.
Well, already you guys are violating some of the oversimplifications that I think Protestants suffer from in terms of Catholics and what the Catholic Church is all about. And I hear you talking, and you sound almost like a Protestant evangelical, talking about deliverance ministries and visiting prisons and saving souls and so on and so forth. I mean, that's wonderful. I think we tend to oversimplify sometimes about our Catholic brethren and the kinds of things that they do, the concerns that they have. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about that later on. But we have here also Dick Kiernan. And as I understand, Dick, you are the director of Alpha New England.
Field Ministries Director of Alpha New England.
Okay.
And Catholic Outreach Director.
All right. One of the curious things about you, Dick, I knew you for many months, and we collaborated in a lot of very intense activities before I discovered that you were actually a Catholic. So for a long time, we talked and were involved in a lot of different things, and I thought this guy is, just one more Protestant member of our team. But then I realized, no, he is a Catholic. And so that says something about you and about your own concerns and how you see your faith and how you live out your faith. But tell us a little bit about also
sure,
what you do.
We collaborated in the New England prayer movement, and I had been involved very intensively in the New Hampshire prayer movement. But I am a cradle Catholic, but and with an unusual journey, I would say, because I was an atheist for 10 years of my life, from the time I was 15 until 25. And I came to faith, or returned to my faith, through evangelicals sharing the gospel with me, specifically the Navigators campus ministry at University of New Hampshire. And after coming to faith, I found a local church in my hometown, which was a charismatic church. And so I was evangelized by evangelicals. I was discipled by charismatics. And then I returned to the Catholic Church and went to Franciscan University of Steubenville, where I got a theology degree. And after that, I worked for 13 years for the Bishop of Manchester, New Hampshire, in the Office of Spiritual Renewal and Evangelization. And in those years, got involved with the New Hampshire prayer movement, and we met at that point. And now for 10 years, I've been doing Alpha New England. And Peter first introduced me to Alpha about 13 years ago.
That's one of the curious things. Alpha is a ministry that is birthed, as I understand, in a Protestant church in England. Is that correct?
Anglican.
It's an Anglican church,
yes.
That's right. And yet, it's become something of a revolution within the Catholic Church. And as I understand, it's been formally approved by Rome. It is being used in Catholic churches all over the world, and is spawning a kind of a revival in many ways for evangelism and dissemination of the word and discipleship for Catholics and so on. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it just recently reached a tipping point where the Pope Benedict, called a synod for the new evangelization, meaning he calls all the bishops of the world and leaders of the world together to talk about the new evangelization, and they featured the transformation that's taken place in France. So Alpha in France was one of the main presentations. And so Alpha is reaching a tipping point and really spreading all over the world. And in our own United States, we're finding we're having more inquiries than ever because of that. But this has evolved over several years. In fact, in 2005, Nikki Gumbel, the founder of Alpha, went to Rome with the International Catholic Director, Kitty, that we've worked closely with, and he had a conversation with Pope John Paul II, and then he met with Cardinal Ratzinger at the time and talked all about how Alpha was spreading around Europe. And they say that Cardinal Ratzinger, all he said after every story of transformation in London and in Paris and in Cologne, Germany, he only said, "Praise God," after each one of them. It was not what you would expect to have heard from and of course, only 5 months later, he became the Pope. So the Pope, Benedict, formerly Cardinal Ratzinger, knows all about Alpha in Europe and loves the new evangelization, and that is a tool. So that's some very exciting things.